Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Whelan, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Whelan Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. Right on, everybody. Welcome to the WB Download. Today is Tuesday, January 28th. We are at the end of January already. Man, welcome to the show. We have a great show today lined up. Once again, I'm going to tell you, it's with Crosby and Roby Sims from Sims Development up in Dayton, Ohio. They are multifamily builders. They are fourth generation guys, and they're leaders in our industry and in our HBA. So if you hear some banging around going on today while we're recording this episode, it's because we are at the tail end of putting our office back together. As you know, I think I said a while ago, about 3-4 months ago, we had a toilet valve bust over the weekend, of course, not while we were here, and flooded the office and dropped about 2 inches of water down on the bottom floor. We tore ceilings out, and of course it ruined all of our hardwood. We have a special hardwood that's in here, and when we went to order it, they had to make it, and there was back orders and blah, blah, blah. So they're just now here. They're starting to sand and wrap this thing up so we can go back to looking. If you've never been to our office, I encourage you to stop by because it's really badass, and I think that everybody should come and see it. And so it's really cool. Just can't wait to get this thing done. It's been what's happening in this world right now. I'm telling you, not much is happening because it's so freaking cold, so cold. And it's just been, minus 20 degrees at night, minus 30 degrees at night with the wind chill. And so we don't, like I said before, we don't want to put these houses in jeopardy. There's a lot of things we can do on the inside that we continue to work on. But it's just outside. It's just been tough. So here, today and yesterday and maybe Sunday, it's lightened up to about 40 degrees. I don't like to complain about the weather too much because, of course we chose this industry and this is the beauty of what we get to do is being outside. But at the same time, I know people who, a friend of mine, college roommate, who farms about, 5,000 or 6,000 acres up in around Findlay, Ohio, and the wind blows all the time and it's brutal up there. I know people who build in Michigan who it's like this all the time. So they're getting things under roof and then trying to put a moratorium on starting anything until the spring. So it's whenever you think you got problems, just listen to somebody else and their problems are bigger most of the time. But anyway, it's been brutal. On the farm, we've been moving cows around a lot. Trying to keep cows inside, especially at night. And I do that because we have the capability of doing it. It's not good to keep cows in the barn because there's so many parasites and things that are happening in there. But I also feel like when it's 30 degrees warmer in the barn than it is outside, and let's let them in there and keep them out of the elements as much as we can. But we're short on hay. We're running out of straw. There's so many things that are happening when you get into these weather like this that, I thought I planned for, but didn't plan for this much. So now we're backtracking a little bit and trying to collect, some more, hay and some more straw. But cold weather, man, it's tough. And I, like I said, I don't want to complain about it. But other than that, we're busy and we're, we got a lot of things going on, which keeps our head, up and looking up and feeling good about things. A couple of things that had happened is, we went through our company retreat, which we had everybody in here, 2 Wednesdays ago. And we took the whole day and sat down and went through, what our beliefs are, talked about our core values, talked about our vision and mission, and talked about making sure that everybody's on the same page with the direction we're headed, making sure that people believe the same things that we believe, and making sure that when we are selling these houses, that everybody else is on the same page. Everybody in the company believes the things that we're telling our customers are going to happen. So we set the goals for the year, and we set our objectives for the year, and we talked about how we're going to achieve all these things. So that was really, really important. I could go down through those with you, but it took us 8 hours to get through them, and I don't want to give you the Cliff Note version, but it's really, really good to do that. I enjoy it, and getting to lead everybody to where we're at. So it was really cool. We got a good group of people, good team, and everybody's on board, which really, really helps us all out. So, here we are again. We're going to spin the wheel, which we are going to talk about a topic. This is something new that we're doing this year, and we'll spin a wheel and it'll land on a topic, and then I will talk about it for a few minutes. So let's spin the wheel. There we go. All right. So it lands on commodes. Let's talk about toilets. Boy, that's a fun subject. There's so many puns you can put in here. So what do you need to know about commodes? What makes a good one? What makes a bad one? Well, let's start from the cheapest and go to the most expensive. So the cheapest commode that you can get is like a low ride. It's like what they call a standard height, round front commode, no frills. It's just nothing to it. More common in production housing, more common in campers and airplanes. And those, that's the base. So when you go from there, and I think that the max is when you get up to like a Toto toilet or Kohler's high-end toilets. And these are commodes that the Totos are probably, some of them are get to be $3,000-$4,000 a piece. The standard round front that I'm talking about is maybe $100 and something a piece. And so these Totos are, when I first learned about them, I went into their booth at the Builders Show and I said, you got to teach me. I can't believe this, but they have a bidet on them. They have a heated seat on them. They have to have electric underneath the commode for us to be able to plug things into them. They have different kind of seats. They're just super, elegant, luxurious commodes. Kohler's got the same thing. They've got a couple that when you walk into the room, the lid automatically opens. Heated seats. It's got lights on them. It's got neon lights on them. You could do all kinds of things. So more common commode that you're going to get is one that's what we use a lot of times is a comfort height, elongated commode, and it's probably white or something along that line. The comfort height means it's a little bit taller. It's not quite handicapped, but it's a little bit taller than a normal one. And elongated means the bowl is where it's made for normal people to be able to sit on and aim at. And nearly all the commodes, this used to be a thing, but it's not anymore. People don't really care about this stuff. But the inside trap of the commode used to not everybody didn't always polish the inside of the trap, which meant that it was kind of like a rough porcelain. And now, you want to make sure that inside of that trap is all polished, just like the outside of it. So anything that happens in plumbing is gravity fed. Everything is that way. So you want to make sure that everything's gravity flowing through that commode the most you can. Most commodes are 1.28 GPF, and that is gallons per flush. And what that means is that when you flush the toilet, so many gallons are going to go out, and that's probably more of an save the earth kind of thing. But our goal is to get as much flush out of the least amount of water that we can possibly do. And then you want to think about your seat. So your seat can be wood, it can be plastic, it can be a soft close, it can automatically open, it can be heated. There's so many different things that happen with your seat. And, I remember way back in the day, they used to have ones that were cushioned, and, I'm not really sure about all that. So, this is something that's, the things that people just don't really pay attention to. So every little detail that you get into, make sure you're paying attention to it. Think about the style and the design and the color. What are you doing in that bathroom that this commode would, what's the style? Because there's a ton of different ones. You can go kind of antique looking. You can go very basic. You can go very modern with your commode. And then the other thing I think about is making sure that your handle on your commode the finish on it matches your fixtures. And that means if it's a chrome, is it black, is it polished, is it brushed nickel, what is it? Make sure that it lines up with it. And you can also pick out a really cool handle with it. So again, everything that we do with Wheel and Builders, these are things that we talk about that it's details, and you don't want to just go, and just assume. I mean, I think most of our customers assume that we're going to put nice commodes in their house, but these are things that we want to go through with them and pick out each one and talk about, hey, these are the really finite details that we want to make everything look perfect. So that's all I have to say about that. So here, let's talk about our guest for today, Crosby and Roby Sims. They are from Sims Development up in Dayton, Ohio. And I know these guys through the Home Builders Association. I met their dad probably 25, 30 years ago at Ohio Home Builders Association. And even though he's up in Dayton and we're right here in Cincinnati or Southwest Ohio, that's where we met at. And so Charlie Sims is just an inspiration, always has been an inspiration to me, just a super guy. And then, of course, that's how I lead into getting to meet Roby and then Crosby and work with these guys. Roby was president of the local Home Builders Association in Dayton the same time I was president of the Ohio Home Builders Association, the state organization. We were both president in 2020, which meant that it was COVID year, which meant that our year was kind of not so great, struggling back and forth. But I am so grateful to have these guys as friends and to be able to work side by side with them for the benefit of our industry. And then I also get a chance to work with them in different groups that benefit our personal companies. And then, plus we're friends. And that is really, really awesome too, because I think you're going to find out in this episode today how cool these cats are and the things that they do. And once again, I just, like always, I am so grateful for these guys to take time out of their day to come down here and just chat with us and get to learn more about each one of these guys. And hopefully you guys get to learn about, what the Home Builders Association means to our companies, learn about Sims Development, learn about their Uncle Mike, and the custom homes that he builds and up around that area, and just really cool dudes. So, hey, without further ado, let's bring in Crosby and Roby Sims. All right. Hello again, everybody. Like I said, today our guest is Crosby and Roby Sims. Man, I took a trip up to Dayton and I went through the Lost and Found, and I found these two old boys and brought them down here. We're going to talk to them about their company today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, so I've known you guys for a while, and I've known your dad for a long time. I'm sure you guys get that crap all the time. Like when I walk up to people, I'm like, hey, how you doing? They go, how's your dad doing? And I'm like, well, I'm doing pretty good too. Thanks for asking. Like nobody cares about us.
Yeah.
They always worry about your dad. I met your dad at the OHBA many, many years ago. And then of course I met Roby at the OHBA many years ago. And then Crosby, you and I are always at the CBUSA meetings. So that's how we know each other. You guys, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Let's talk about what the name of your company is, what you do, where'd you grow up at. I want to know every single thing there is about you.
Awesome. Well, our company name is Sims Development. We're fourth generation builders. I started with the company in 2015 officially. Crosby and I both swept out units as a kid.
Yeah.
All the down and dirty kind of stuff. But we primarily build townhomes and attached multifamily, for sale products, market rate.
Okay.
And we enjoy it.
In the Dayton area?
In the Dayton area. We've gone as far south as Mason, and we're building in Lebanon right now.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't know you were building in Lebanon. Yes. I know where the Mason project is. I used to have a lumber salesman that lived in there, and it's the one right there on 741, right?
Yes.
I remember that one. And so you guys do some really, really cool stuff. So where'd you grow up at? Did you grow up South Dayton, North Dayton?
South Dayton.
Tulsa, where'd you go?
Crosby and I both went to Kettering, Fairmont. We both graduated from there and then went on from college from there. But Kettering, South Dayton is kind of where we grew up, and really, enjoy kind of traveling down to Cincinnati for Bengals games, Reds games. We do see the Dayton area as having that other kind of nice big city pool being Cincinnati, and Dayton having 800,000 people around it is not bad either.
Yeah. Do you guys go to the Dragons games a lot?
We used to a lot. I mean, it's a good time.
Try to. Yeah.
I try to. Yeah.
I think it's cool. I mean, when you go up there, a friend of mine lives across the street from the manager for the Dragons, but it's a good, I like the thing I think I like about the best about it is when you go up there, they've got a corn bin as one of the bars out there in the front. I'm like, whenever you're dropping a little bit of hillbilly somewhere, I'm going to be there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Dayton's got that nice flair to it. Yeah.
It's right in the town there too. So where did you guys go to college at?
I went to Otterbein University up in Columbus. Played tennis there.
Okay.
It took me about 5 years to graduate, but got it done. Right. It was fun.
Pretty standard today.
Pretty standard today, yes.
About you, Crosby?
I went to Bowling Green.
Yeah?
Yep. I did the construction management program up there.
Nice.
And was working for, years 4, 5, and 6, and 7. So it took me a little bit longer too, but, just getting good experience. It was an internship that turned into a full-time job, and then I was kind of part-time school. So, that's kind of my story up there. Yeah.
So I was talking to a guy, Josh Doyle he's up in Toledo, kind of Michigan area. And he told me we were judging a home rama together one time. And he told me that he went to, where did he go? I think he might've went to Ohio State for construction management. And he said, I wish that I would have gone for business management as opposed to construction management, because I already knew the construction trade and I would have rather seen. Do you feel the same way?
100%. Yeah. And into, the construction management program was great as far as, learning the nuts and the bolts and, things like that. You get exposure to architecture, engineering, they teach you how to work the survey equipment and things like that. That's great. But, taking a job as an estimator and a project manager for a company up there called Lakeside Interiors, union shop, real, high-end guys. They do a lot of commercial stuff up there. Learning from them, the business aspect. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm learning a lot of stuff from these guys, and that's why that became a full-time deal for me. And school kind of wasn't in the background, but, I couldn't pass up that opportunity just because I was learning so much from those guys. And it's that business stuff that's just, a huge part of things too.
It's when one of the things we run into a lot of times, I think you see it in my side of it being custom builders, is you see same thing with your trades. If they're really good at their skill or their craft, maybe they don't have such good business skills. And then you see a lot of times that they have good business skills, they suck at whatever they do. Yes. So you got to make that fine balance between the two of them,
Yeah.
I went to school in Worcester at the Ohio State Ag School. So the reason I bring that up is because what were we thinking? I mean, there's schools all down along the southern border that we could have gone to. I was talking to my veterinarian the other day, and she went to like Costa Rica for her vet degree. And I'm like, well, what's I'm thinking? I was in Worcester. Yeah. It's horrible. Last time I was up there, you and I were up there together, Roby, for that meeting, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm like, it didn't look like this when I was here. It was cold and windy because we're there during the winter months. The same thing in Bowling Green, I mean, everything is freezing. People just bought me winter clothes all the time. I never had any pair of shorts. How many brothers and sisters do you guys have?
I'll let Crosby answer that one.
Yeah, so there's 6 of us total.
Because you don't know, or you just...
I've told so many people it's now Crosby's time to tell that story.
Yeah. No, I don't mind.
Let's hear it.
There's 6 kids all together, 4 boys and 2 girls. Roby's number 2. I'm number 3. So that's kind of where we fall in the line.
And just you two are into business?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes. And is that a decision that somebody made, or is that the kid's decision? How does that come about? I'm always curious.
Well, Crosby, I'm not going to speak for my brother, but I think that we were both very anxious to get into this industry as kids. And we saw our dad kind of do what he did and provide for our family. And, it'd be kind of rewarding to be a builder. And so it's not only a thing that we do know, but it makes sense to have a career in this.
Good. So they opted out. It wasn't like they wanted to get in. You're like, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah, that's good. I always felt like that would be really tough if you had a bunch of kids and then everybody wants to be in the business because, and maybe it's not for you guys, but I mean, family owned business, operated business, that's tough because it's always there. Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything you do is always the topic of business, the topic of what's going on. You guys are always together. But on the other hand of it, I always feel like I take it for granted because forever I was always with my mom and dad almost every day, with my brother almost every day. We're talking all the time. And then I talk to some other friends of mine and they're like, I haven't seen my parents in 6 months. I haven't talked to them in 3 or 4 weeks, and so it's a good part of it. So you're a 4th generation builder, right? So your great grandfather, your grandfather, your dad, and all these guys. So I'm always curious to know, because people always is thinking if you've got a history of family into business, well, then it's either like you're either one, they think you're spoon fed, but which is bullshit. But then the other thing is they think that there's just this wellspring of knowledge that's following you around and pushing you to do better because they've got all these people. How does that work with you guys? Do you feel like that has been a huge advantage?
Well, I think working for generations past with the experience has been nice. And there's certain rules that, my grandfather might have taught my dad. And, we asked our dad a question. He's like, well, the wheels are turning in his head. Like, well, would my dad do that? Would Gramps do that? And that's what we call our grandfather. And so, those things that our grandfather's instilled in our dad has been instilled with us, and our great grandfather as well. So it's very neat to kind of see those they're not cardinal rules, but just certain ways of doing business being passed down generation to generation.
Yeah.
And then to our grandfather, he, when he's in town, he's in Florida 6 months out of the year, but he'll definitely come to our sites and give us, little notes. And I mean, it's welcomed. It's very nice to see that he's still active and wanting to do that.
That's good. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And he cares. Obviously, it's his company. He started.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think also for us, it's up to us to, at some point in my life, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait until he just moves on, because I'm just always, we were arguing and it wasn't a good mix. But then at some point you want to, it's our responsibility to bring them back in, to bring, hey, let's talk, let's sit down, let's go around and see some job sites, to keep their mind going, to keep them involved in it and keep them vested in it, because, it's a lot of hard work. The older you get, the more experience that you see these guys would have had. So did you have uncles? I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, did you have uncles and aunts and all that stuff that were coming into the business, or were they here or no?
So, I think it's best to describe as our great-grandfather had two sons, Bill and Charles. Charles is our grandfather. Bill is our great-uncle. And then Bill started his own company in the 60s, right after my grandfather. And so there's actually two companies. One that's custom homes, and we do the condos. So the custom homes is our uncle Mike Sims.
I was going to ask you
Homes
that.
by Sims, yeah. So it's two separate companies. And then there's another generation, and our generation, that's coming up with that company as well, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Our cousin Parker Sims, which you've met Parker.
Yeah.
CBUSA.
Yeah, we're all sitting in the same room together.
Yep.
So Mike, and I think, I'm pretty sure your dad will probably have to straighten this out for me, but I don't know what Mike would have been doing there. But this I got on the OHBA board in like maybe 2001, I think it was, somewhere in there. And I go out there by myself because there wasn't a lot of Cincinnati guys that were up there. If they were really old dudes that just come up there and they barked and bitched and they went on. So I went up there and I had to go to a evening event and stay the night and come the next day, so that after the evening event, your dad comes over and he goes, hey, everybody goes over to the bar over here, over at Easton. Come with us. I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. And so I go over there and sit down there, and basically me and him and your Uncle Mike were sitting there together just talking all night long. And it was really nice of them to bring me in, and you know how your dad is, and just start talking and interested in you. And Mike was the same way. And it was kind of cool. And that's how I got started really in the OHBA was because of that. That relationship. Really, yeah. And he's still that way. When we started CBUSA down here, he comes down here and we're all there talking. Me and him end up going to lunch together, and just a super guy. And I see a lot of that stuff in you guys too, just nice people. I do believe that. I'm not just saying that because we're on the radio.
I appreciate that. And to like the CBUSA thing, it was, we shared a cab ride with George Davis from Cleveland.
Yeah.
At Orlando, one of the IBS shows. And he was talking about all the money that he was saving on siding. And, we're like, well, tell us more. It was a cab ride that kind of brought CBUSA down to the Dayton, Cincinnati area.
George is 100 miles an hour, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What a trip. So let's talk about your journey in the construction industry. You mentioned that you had spent time on a job site when you were a kid, sweeping it out and doing all those things, which is pretty standard. I always tell people I'm doing the same thing today I did when I was in the 6th grade, because you got to do all this kind of stuff. What was that like? Was it like, hey, you're going to work, or was it, hey, can I go to work?
Yeah, I guess it started with, I guess it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A lot of it was, it's summertime. You got to get a job. So, we started out, showing up to the sites at 7 a.m. and just kind of helping out.
How old were you?
15 or so, I want to say.
Yeah.
My mom had to drive me to work for the first summer.
Yeah.
I was 15 or 14, maybe. Yeah.
So that was, a real easy thing to do as a summer job. But even before that, being 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, some of your earliest memories, riding around with our dad, to the sites on the weekends, he sees someone on a big, skid steer or something moving dirt, and he throws us in the cab with the guy and lets us ride around. And, you remember seeing the dirt get pushed around. I mean, that stuff right there is just super cool when you're a kid. So right there, you're immediately interested in it. And, seeing our dad drive around and pick up trash all the time, you're just kids in the back seat. And, it's just, seeing how much he cared about the business and things like that, it's just, those things just got instilled to us at a very young age. So yeah, I guess when it came time, we wanted to be around it even more, when we could actually be employees and help out on site.
Yeah. That's great. I think, I always talk to people around here, checking their motivation levels and trying to figure out what they want to do and why they want to do it. And I think that all of us in the construction industry, you have to love what you do, because there's other places you could probably go and make more money and probably have an easier job to do. But then you get the advantages for us is driving around, seeing things all the time. You're inside, outside, you're dealing with the elements. You get to meet so many cool people, that's really neat, the different personalities and things that people do. But I think it's also this hard work, this hard knocks that you get from when you're a little kid. You're probably in the 6th or 7th grade and you have a whole different language skill that people don't really want you to use, which is kind of neat. You got to find out where that border is. So that's, I think all those things bring you into wanting to be a builder. So what do you think? What do you think the benefits and the challenges are of being a builder or being in this business? You said earlier, Crosby, it's rewarding. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's rewarding in a way that you are literally changing somebody's life. You're giving them shelter. I mean, you're not giving them shelter. They're obviously buying a home from you, but it's providing that warmth, that cheer, and that, we're not building like products like a Twizzlers, making a Twizzler and then, their competitors making something that tastes just like a Twizzler. I don't know, that's a horrible analogy, but, we're making homes out of thin air, our own plans and specs and our own designer kind of, different features inside the home. So it's very neat it's one of a kind. Each home is one of a kind, and marrying that buyer, with the home it's a very rewarding process, at least for me. And,
Yeah. What do you think?
I would say, just to piggyback on that, the most rewarding part is, seeing a buyer's face at the end when they're just so happy. And we know that we've done everything we can to deliver the best product. Cause like Roby said, it's a primal thing. People need a place to live. Yeah. And even more rewarding is we're giving someone, a piece of ownership in this country as well. Being able to buy a home is something that is very expensive to do, in today's world. And, doing that to the best of our ability, delivering the best materials, the best design, things like that. We know we can stand behind our product and we feel good about it.
That's good.
So it's, it's just, I think that's the most rewarding thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the most unprepared things I had coming into this business was the emotions that get wrapped up into it on both sides, and even trade partners, everybody. I mean, it's you think that these are all, and most of them out in the field are a lot of rough cut dudes, they don't take a whole lot of shit off of anybody. But they still have this emotion to them, and it's an emotion, whatever the way, but then the customers have this emotion, with them that everything is so, sometimes you're tiptoeing, sometimes you're having a celebration, sometimes you're having a good time, sometimes you're having a bad time. It's just up and down, up and down, up and down all day.
And then too, Jeff, sometimes people are buying a home, especially like ours, like a condo, they might be downsizing, or they might be making a purchase to save the marriage. Yeah. And, we're caught up in that. Yeah. I've seen that happen a couple of times. But yeah, I agree.
Saving the marriage to buy a condo. Tell me about that, because I think if you're buying a condo, you're probably not saved the marriage.
Well, it's I've seen it a few times.
Is that an apartment? That's an apartment, not a condo.
That's an apartment. But downsizing and just you kind of get to see people's communication style between the two, the husband and wife, and it's very unique, and
it's very intimate.
It's intimate.
It's a very intimate experience. And,
I agree.
We deal with our buyers usually on a 60 to 90 day basis. You, Jeff, you're dealing
years.
Exactly. So that's even more of an investment. I know one thing that stuck with me that you said at a CVUSA meeting once is that you've become friends with some of the people you've built for, which I think is just so cool. And that's really stuck with me, that, they're trusting you, and, you're trusting them in a way also. to follow through on their side. And, you want to build that relationship that's, beyond just a business transaction.
Yeah.
And, that's just something that you said that's, stuck with me. It really put a lot of things into perspective about, what exactly we're doing and what that relationship looks like. Yeah.
Agreed 100%. I think the other thing that is cool, I mean, for us, we're building custom houses. So we're building these houses with our customers, using their inspirations, using our thought process. We're kind of working together to do that. A lot of times you guys are going to a site, or you're looking at the big picture, and you can go and look at something and be like, I think you've done statistical work. You look at all these different numbers, you look at these things to figure out what the buildings you're going to build, what you're going to be able to sell the product for, what the price per square foot, and the square footage. You have to deal with all these government officials. And you guys really get into it. It's amazing. I can go out and walk a person's land on 100 acres and be like, I think this is where we should put the house. This is really, this is kind of cool. It's a big step. You go into downtown Dayton and you're like, let's tear this building down and let's build these awesome condos here. And I think the city is going to benefit from it. I think that's just such a vision. How do you, I have a different term for it, but how do you have the nerve to go do that?
Well, for Crosby and I's experience for Wright Dunbar, we're doing 26 townhomes off of West 3rd Street. And, we've been looking at that neighborhood for 5 years.
Yeah.
And, what made more sense than building inside the neighborhood, maybe a 2 or a 10 unit building, would be to be right on West 3rd Street, these nice prominent townhomes. And it's the name of progress. That's all it is.
Yeah.
We have rich history in Dayton. So I don't think that we have an issue personally, with some of those sites, coming down. It's progress.
Why doesn't the city come to you and say, hey, this product you did over here is really cool, and you've cleaned up the area, you've improved this area. Why don't we do this over here? Why don't we do this over here? And it's not, I think a lot of people too, they get a misnomer that they think that the city is basically the taxpayers are affording you to build these houses essentially. And I don't think that's the case, but the city has got to take some initiative to clean it up. And you don't want to get off the exit and you see these big buildings with spray paint and all this crap all over. They're vacant because they moved to a different city, and you guys could take those areas and clean them up. Do you have those conversations?
Yes, it is a lot of, partnership with, different municipalities. City of Dayton is definitely a big one, where they have people, departments that are trying to develop the city in ways that will benefit the city and things like that. We do like, it's, well, where we're building right Dunbar, it's not the cleanest neighborhood right now. But we know that people have already bought in there. We already have 2 sold. The building's not even under roof yet. The first one. But they're going to treat the neighborhood correctly, and we've set up a few things. And like you said, kind of the nerve. There's a housing shortage. People need somewhere to live. There is a lack of housing,
especially for sale market rate housing.
Yeah, there is a lack of housing, especially in that area in the West Side. I think someone told us we were the first new construction development in like 30 years or something like that.
There was a rehab-orama in that neighborhood in the 2000s from the Dayton HBA, but that's about it.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe, but people need a place to live, and they, that's kind of where the nerve comes from, is we're still very underbuilt as a country when it comes to homes.
I think Vince, he was always throwing these numbers around that in the height of the build, just before the recession, that Ohio was, and I might screw these numbers up, but I think it was something like 40,000 units. And now we're not even pushing up against 20.
Yeah.
Right. Still today. And there's people who are really busy right now. Things have been decent for the last couple of years, and they're busy. And then we're still thinking, man, how did we do all this crap back then when we were doing double of what we're doing now? That's a lot. I don't know what we can really attribute that to. I would say a lot of that slows down because in the recession, it cleaned out a lot of people, wiped out a lot of people. There's not a lot of small developers anymore, where we used to have individual private developers, and they would develop for us custom lots, or they develop a neighborhood here and there. Now you have all the big guys to come in there and eating it up, and you just hope that they have a heart to peel some of it off and want to sell some of it to somebody like you guys or us. So I think. But back to that vision that you have in the city and the things that you guys do. I just can't. I can't wrap my head because it takes not only the sources that you would have, the funds that you would have, but the time and the vision. And I think the vision is probably the most forth setting. You can do your homework. You can look at all these different zoning laws. You can look at all these different regulations that we had to fight through. But if you've got a vision and you're passionate about it, I think you can sell it to the government for them to get on board, and then you can start selling it to the people in the public. I think that's really, really neat. So
yes, no, I agree.
Just kind of touch them. I'm just so interested in this family dynamic, because we've been a family business forever. Both my grandfathers were builders, and my mom and dad, and then me and my brother, and I just always have wondered, I skipped my 8th grade graduation dance party because we were working at Homerama, we were always working. It was just instilled in us that we're working. How's that dynamic between you two? I mean, when you get away from the office, when you get away from the business a little bit, is it still business with you guys, between the two of you, or are you guys having fun?
Well, I think we're having fun, but it's an added benefit to be like, oh, by the way,
yeah,
I did put that piece of trim in the garage yesterday, kind of thing. I mean, there's an added benefit to it, but yeah.
It can go both ways, it can be like, you guys have a good relationship and you get along really good, or, it can spark something to where you form a different relationship with these people, and that probably makes it a little bit tougher. But, for being a 4th generation, but what's the statistic? It's like the 2nd generation is the most failed generation ever. And if you go to 3rd and 4th, then that's a huge deal. So you guys must be doing something right. So I'm just going down through my list here and thinking about all these, because I interviewed David Dries at the end of last year, towards the middle of last year. It was towards the middle of last year, and I was interested in his dynamics because they've got a huge family. There's all kinds of people that are coming in and out, and they've got room to put them. But I'm like, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And most of the time, it's because somebody's taking charge and saying, "Here's what we're going to do."
Yes.
But his dad was also a super intelligent guy, and he gives so much credit to his dad Ralph to say he had a vision. In a succession plan moving forward. Does your dad have that with you guys? Is there something written down to say this is what it looks like moving forward, and this is how we're going to handle this?
Well, so I saw that earlier, and it brought me to a memory. What Crosby asked me, he doesn't know what I'm about to say, but like 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, he asked me, he goes, it was 12 years ago, but he goes, do you think Dad's investing in us, to kind of, take on the family business? And, we were all kind of trying to figure it out. And I said, I think so. So I think he did invest in us. He didn't give up on us in college and in high school. And he was, I think, tougher on us as kids because of that fact.
And he had his rules too, not to cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
But, going that far back, it was always, okay, you want to get involved with the family business, you need a 4-year degree, and then you need to go and work somewhere else for someone else for at least a year, and then we can talk about you coming back.
Yeah.
We can have that conversation. I went off and, worked somewhere else for quite some time before I came back, just in 2021, January of 2021. So really, I've only been working in the business for, I guess, 4 years now, or 3 years, however long it's been.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I mean, I graduated high school in 2011. I didn't come back for 9 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's I think that you're hitting on some really good points, is that your dad would make. That's really intelligent to do that, to say, hey, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go do this. I think the U.S. government should do that, and I think teachers should have to do that too. Like, you should have to go get a job in the private sector and figure out what it's like to go work for somebody. But I did that too. I mean, I learned so much from working for other people to see, because if all I would have known is this is my parents and this is how they handle me and this is all we would have done, and that trait gets passed right on down to the next generation. And if you go out and learn from other people on how they do things and watch other industries, and it doesn't even have to be building. I mean, in the farming business, that's basically how I learned everything in the farming business, was just from other people, and from my degrees. But so what kind of measures we talked about the measures that your dad did and invested in you. And there was a succession plan put in place long before, so it wasn't just like, well, you guys are going to take a company over and then we're just going to jump in there one day, you're going to start working, and then you keep moving. So there's so many different things that go along with taking that company from one person to another. You keep the corporation going, or do you shut the corporation down and start a new corporation? And with the new people, getting rid of debt, getting rid of liabilities and things like that. So was there a lot of conversations around that, or have you guys not made it that point yet?
It was a lot of paperwork. We have made it to that point.
Yeah, we did. It's official.
Yeah, so Roby and I did officially buy the company from our dad as of January 1st of 2024. So I guess we are now, 1 year and some change into it on our own. But our dad is, still around. We can still call him and bounce ideas off of him and things like that. But yeah, it was a lot of signatures, a lot of paperwork. A lot of legal and accounting fees, but we did it. So that transition has taken place.
That's good.
Like getting down like in the weeds a little bit about the transition, like Amex, we had to get our own Amex. And, it was actually kind of a blessing in disguise. We had so many monthly things that we were paying for on our Amex that would just, repopulate. And then once we cut that off, we kind of figured out like, oh, well, maybe we don't need DocuSign for 5 different people, So it was kind of a blessing in disguise with that, but just kind of, starting anew, but not really. We're just kind of just carrying it on.
I think that's something in business in general, that it doesn't hurt to go under a microscope every once in a while and start looking. Do we need that? Do we need that? Do we need that? Because I mean, my guys in my Builder 20 group, and I think that I'm trying not to be like that, but eventually are. We have like 96 different computer programs that we're using between all these different, like I'm not 96, but our selections program and our Google programs and our MailChimp and our database and our CRM. And oh my gosh, I mean, it's worse than watching Hulu and Peacock and Paramount. I mean, you can't just watch regular TV anymore. You got to go all over the place to get this stuff. So Roby, what's your role in the business?
So I was brought up sales and marketing. I was in direct sales. I first started as a field superintendent. Right when I first started, that's what I was hired on to do. I probably finished maybe 15 or 16 homes myself, which was challenging.
Homes or units?
Homes.
Okay.
Did I say units?
No, you said homes. And I was just making sure that we're still talking about like multifamily and different things like that.
Well, a condo is still a home, Jeff.
Because nobody cares if you finish 16 condo units, because you're like, all right, that's like one building. Okay.
Sounds like
But 16 homes, you're like, damn, you were busting it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So did that. And then I don't know what happened. I think I filled in for a salesperson or something. And my dad's like, you should just try, in direct sales. And I ended up, it was like a year in, but I sold 3 homes in one day. That was a huge, I don't think ever happened before in our company. It probably has, but it was fun to learn the company that way from the sales position. I'm a shy kind of person to a point. So it was kind of nice to get out of my shell and, see what the motivators are for people.
That's pretty cool.
Because everybody has a motivation to move.
Yeah. How about you, Crosby?
Yeah, I'm on the production side of things.
Yeah.
So Roby and I have our both nice little avenues, and then we get together on land deals and kind of collab on that stuff.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. I wonder, I wonder this about my mom and dad. How many times I screwed something up and they knew that I was going to screw it up, and they had to sit back and just let me learn for myself. He knew that it wasn't going to be so detrimental to the company that it was going to break us, but he's like, I'm going to let him screw this up and see how he reacts. Or you got to learn that we're manufacturers and there's going to be trial and error on things. And I wonder how many times those guys did that. Because I find myself, I'm always wanting to be like, well, hey, here's how I did it. Or, hey, here's what you could do with my kids. And sometimes I'm just sitting there pinching myself going, shut up. Just let them do whatever they're going to do. They got to learn this stuff. And that's a tough thing to do, is for me to keep my mouth shut.
And when those things do happen, sometimes we'll ask our, dad for, our dad for his advice, and he'll just be like, well, that's just how it goes sometimes. You screwed it up, and then you just kind of move on. It's just, that's the nature of this business in a way too. So
let's talk about these multifamily units you're building in the city. This vision, the trends, the things that go on with these buildings. How do you guys find what direction you're going to head? Like, how do you know what level you're going to hold each unit at? And I think that years ago we used to have a figure of especially when I was pushing for OHBA and pushing for our local, is that every time the price of a house went up $1,000, we had statistics to show that like 1,486 people lost the opportunity to buy that house. Mm-hmm. Do you pay that close attention to these unit prices, or are you guys more higher end, or how do you do it?
We do pay attention to the price, but we also, look at the surrounding neighborhood to see, what is historically or what's just happening right now. And then we try and get in there with the price. But it's something that we know a product, it's brick wrapped. We know our cost for brick. We know Crosby's really good at knowing our cost and having the budgets all set. So we do know going into it what product we should build. And I think we're pretty good at that.
Yeah, we're always checking our cost per square foot and things like that, and putting it up against the competition. But we are always going to be on the higher end because there's just some things that we're not willing to do to get to that lower price point. 100% plywood sheathing, 30-year roof shingles, things like that. Just we're not going to compromise on because that's just the integrity of the house.
Yeah.
So
I always say that I get excited about the things that people don't care about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 2x4s and the way we wrap the steel in the foundation, and the customers are going, this is what I would have expected you to do. You don't have to tell me. But I think on your side, what I'm looking at is that you're going into a place where you might have a falling down building on the right and a falling down building on the left, and you are coming in to improve the area. So it's not like you're trying to keep up with the market or your balance. You're creating the market. Mm-hmm. And so that's got to be really tough.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, it's tough because somebody always has to be the first.
Yeah.
This is the first, new homes that have been built there in like 30 years or so. And our first two buyers there are single females in their 20s.
Yeah.
Of color. And
nice.
It's very neat that both of them are ones that are saying, yes, I'm going to be the trailblazers for this new community, this area.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's very neat to see.
I have a friend of mine that's a big developer down here, and I said we should go and just build our own city. And he goes, let me tell you what somebody told me a long time ago. He goes, pioneers end up in a puddle face down with an arrow in their back. Wow. And I'm like, well, that's good advice.
What were you going to have in the city? Top golf?
I don't know. It was just funny to listen to his reaction. I guess you just want to follow and not be a leader. I don't know. So I'm just enamored with what you guys do because, I wouldn't go and build a $3 million house in a neighborhood where all the houses are $200,000, mm-hmm. and you guys are basically going in and you're doing this huge improvement in the area that you're working in, to the point where it's not like you're worried about appraisals. You're not worried about the value of the building next to you. You're like, hey, this is what we're doing because we're making it better for the community.
Yes.
Really
and
neat.
Then too, we're plugged in. I mean, not just with the HBAs and stuff like that, but we're plugged into the community. We know what's going to be planned for certain things, 1 or 2 or 3, 5 years down the road. So we feel comfortable building where we are building because of what is coming up on the line.
That's good.
Yeah. And, obviously stuff does fall through, but we're here. We're real.
That's good. My son came home to him one day and he says, yeah, these people, my buddies, his parents want to build a house, but they can't afford you. You're too expensive. And I said, you got to understand something. We're not too expensive. We're expensive. It's the line. That's the level. It's not like Wheeland Builders makes more money because we've got this ego or something like that. It's the line that we're building, and it's the expectation of the customers that we are going to build for in that level. I mean, it's a reality, and it's just where I want to be at as far as our business plan. And I think you guys do the same thing, and I feel the same way. I mean, don't come in here and tell me that you want me to build the sticks and the bones of it less so I can put granite countertops in there.
Yeah, we can put granite in there, quartz for all day, and call it a nice home. But if it's not built well, then
then the granite and the quartz is going to end up in the basement.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So when you talked a little bit in the past about different things that you guys do standard in your houses, but what's the sustainability, the innovation, and the cool things? Where do you get that information? Are the customers telling it to you? Your trade suppliers telling it to you? Are you reading magazines? I mean, how do you figure this stuff out?
We do. I mean, I get a couple of magazines that's to our office. I do kind of read through it, but it's not our gold, place. But we're plugged in. We have a designer for interior design stuff that's out of the state, and it's there. She's from a bigger city, and a lot of those trends start in that city.
Yeah,
and kind of over years make their way out to places like Ohio.
Yeah, eventually.
So
over the years,
yes. Like we had a model that was 4 or 5 years old, and they were like, "Oh, mixed metals, like that's such a good trend right now." I'm like, "We've had this built for 4 or 5 years now." But I'm not boasting, but it is nice to kind of hear from the experts from around the country of what we should do and build in Dayton, Ohio.
Are you in a Builder 20 group?
We're not. We do want to get into one eventually, but we were also told that maybe we should wait 3 or 5 years to get into one.
Nah,
no,
I don't think so. I think you get in there right away because it's you like we were talking about. You learn so much from other people. Mm-hmm. It's no different. You guys have been in. We're going to talk about the Home Builders Association here in a minute, but that's where I learned from being around all these other builders and learning different things. You're talking about when we were in school, you learn what the books tell you, but then when you get out and you get around other people, you learn what reality tells you, and I think that's so super important. I've learned so much from my Builder 20 group. Gives me a whole new group of people to look up to and the way they do things. But man, it just broadens your horizon and just in that and if you ever had a business coach or anything like that you worked with, it's just super helpful to learn things from these people. Anytime you get the opportunity to learn, all the time, and especially from other people who have been doing it, I think it's pretty neat. I would go now. I mean, you know, they want to. I mean, some of those groups, they want you to come in with a certain wellspring of knowledge so you can share with the group. Mm-hmm. But then you're there to learn too, and I think you guys have it. You guys have the history. I would go for it.
I think
definitely.
We will. Yeah.
Definitely. Meet twice a year. We've talked about Builder 20 on here a lot. I've got other builders that are in my group that we've had on the podcast, and we all talk about how great it is. It's so super important.
And they're all in non-compete markets, right?
Correct.
Complete non-compete.
Right.
So you're literally sharing all of your stuff.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're sharing everything. You act like each other's board of directors. Everybody, I mean, even a lot of personal life stuff, business stuff, you've got to be open to it and just throwing it all out there because
we did go through something called Small Business Growth Partners.
Yeah.
That was nice. A couple of our meetings are revamped because of that program. It was kind of a lot of business coaching and making sure the right people are in the right seats and stuff like that. But, Yep.
Did you follow, what's that book that they make you follow where you have the buckets and all that?
Traction.
Yeah. Traction.
Yep.
Did you follow that?
Yep. Our production meetings are still level 10 meetings.
Yeah.
That we do. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't do Traction, but my business coach is from Akron, Fred Rakowski, and he was just he's such a sharp dude. But if I go back and listen to the guys talk about Traction, basically the things that he's going, you're following in the same direction.
Yes.
And I mean, you know, when I was doing this, I mean, we didn't even have job descriptions for people, you know. I mean, it was like, if you screwed it up, you sucked because you didn't read my mind. And so now you got to figure those kind of things out, running meetings, you know, running businesses. And that's so important. So
and then just real quick on that, when we're quarterly meetings, we're doing quarterly meetings, and our dad would have meetings, you know, business meetings, you know, company meetings, but now the employees, we only have like 8 full time. They expect, you know, quarterly meeting to kind of talk about stuff and set goals for the next quarter. So it's very neat to kind of see the last 2 or 3 years that they're actually looking forward to something like that.
Yeah.
And that just reiterates the core values and, you know, what our mission statement is and our vision and things like that. And it's, you know, it's important to go through every few months.
Yeah, definitely. We just had our planning meeting for our company yesterday. We did it here and talking through things and just making sure that everybody's on the same page, making sure that everybody still believes in. And I want to know from everybody, hey, if you feel like this is stupid, then let's take it off. Let's add another core value. Let's do something. But you have to be able to get this. We figured out in building a big, large custom house that maybe we'll have somewhere like 365 people that work on that thing, and whether architects, truck drivers, you know, I mean, whoever it is, plumbers. And we want all of those people to have the same belief that we do. We want them all to understand what Wheel and Builders is and just getting them in the same direction. I think those core values, I guess is my point, is what's going to get them there. Make sure that they believe it, you know. Let's talk about the Home Builders Association, and I want to talk about CBUSA too, because you talked about shingles and, you know, whatever shingle you're using, I'm using. So we want to talk about that.
Yeah. So
what value, I'm assuming that you got involved in the Home Builders Association because your dad was involved in it, right?
Correct.
And at the local level, and then you got involved in the state level and those kind of things. What do you see in the Home Builders Association that makes you want to continue to do it, even do it?
I mean, it's tradition. One, it's something that our great grandfather had done too when he was our age, or maybe a little bit older, of course. But it's tradition, and two, it's everybody rowing in the same way. We're all in the same industry, so. You know, we're not regulated a whole lot. We are, of course. But we don't have licensing and all that kind of stuff. So we do have to.
I'm against licensing, Roby.
Me too. But we do have to kind of, you know, collaborate as other business people together. So that HBAs give that a chance.
Yeah.
And have
you spent much time in it, Crosby?
Yeah, I'm on the board right now for
Nice.
the Dayton HBA. I think this is my 3rd year I'm going into right now. Yeah, I mean, it's great for everyone to kind of get together and, you know, work towards the same issues. I know you probably were aware that there was a, you know, county, I guess, in this area that's been having some issues, and it's things like that. You all band together and you work through those things and you set up those meetings, and it's a nice advocate for builders to kind of come together and figure things out.
Yeah, I think we need to have another meeting with those guys because it's not working.
Yeah,
so we got to straighten it out.
We won't go down that road.
We could if you want, but I agree. So you could be a fourth generation president, right? I mean, the fourth.
I could.
You're the second of the fourth generation.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened before?
Well, no, my dad did a bunch of research, and Vince Squillis up in OHBA did some research, and I might have been the first fourth generation local president in the entire country.
Nice.
Which would be pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I would just run with that if you already. Nobody's going to waste time doing research.
We did. It's printed.
Do it. Good. That's good. Were you the youngest president that Dayton ever had?
No, I think John Peebles was maybe a year or two below me, and just younger than me at that point.
I was the youngest in Cincinnati, but Billy Fannin was the youngest at OHBA, and I think I was I might have been second. Yeah.
How old were you when you went to the local?
I just turned. I turned 30 the day that I became president.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what year was that?
Young.
I'm not putting an 80 on you.
What's that?
What year was that?
That was 2005.
2005.
I just turned 50 in December. So yeah, it was 2005. And, in the course of 2020, I was president of the OHBA. I was the most useless president in the history of OHBA because it was COVID.
It was.
And
that was my local year too.
Yeah, that's right. That's when we were presidents together.
Yep.
And my theme for OHBA was that year was bring people together.
And it really worked out.
I was like, nope, we're not going to do that. I see it as, I see it a lot as, I kind of see it our church the same way. And I don't know if people see that, but I want to go there. I want to talk to people. I want to meet new people. I want to have conversations and enjoy my time there, learn things from other people, and just do all those kind of things. Carrying on a legacy that my dad started with our family and both Homerama and with the Home Builders Association. But also then you get down to doing the hard work. The work that only a few people do that benefit the customers, that benefit the public, that benefit the municipalities, and that benefit, just a bunch of builders that don't want to have anything to do with the Home Builders Association. So it's super, super important work that we do there. I think anyway. I always thought that we were one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world. And I talked to a guy that owns nursing homes, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm sure they are way over.
My gosh. But I think, we had a meeting, you and Roby and you and I and a couple other guys sat down with John Husted a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to him, and just such a great person, such a good dude.
And he understood a lot of what we were talking
Absolutely.
about.
At least he made us feel like he did. I think that's part of being a politician is making us all feel like we're best friends. But no, I really think he did understand it, but we are for less regulation, right? Because the reason why we're for that, I think some people are like, you need rules, you need laws. Absolutely. But we have a building code, and that's really important. But the reason why we're for less regulation is just exactly what you were talking about, Crosby. We get some crazy person that comes into this county and wants to start throwing California rules around here, like you're going to do. That doesn't work here. Mm-hmm. We're all got a good head on our shoulders. Let's work together, but we do not need more regulation to hold us back, because that means more expensive, more time, more things that our customers are going to pay for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Home Builders Association does a good job of fighting against that.
They do.
I think they do.
And just a total awareness of NIMBYism too. That's very tough for us on the local level. People not my backyard, let's not build there. But, we need homes. Your home was once a field that somebody looked upon and said, oh, I hope nobody builds there. But
right.
Now you're living there.
Yeah.
And
now I've got mine, but you can't have yours.
So we've got to recognize that. And HBAs, it's not like we have a big marketing message, but I think it helps.
Yeah. It's a trade group. It's a group of people, like-minded people. And I always think that as builders, we're pretty screwed up people. I'm surprised we're not all like just bipolar, because, you go out, we had this conversation already. Our whole theme is like hungry, humble, and smart. And the humble part of it is being able to talk to a number of different people with the same amount of respect, no matter who you're talking to. So you're going to be out there on a job talking to a concrete finisher who's got a whole different set of language for us. And then you turn around and you're looking at a homeowner that's, a multimillionaire who's a super business person, got a business suit on. And you're like, hey, you got to change the topic, change your language, and then have a conversation with them. And then you got to turn it over and manipulate this person's personality to be able to get them to do the job. And you're always up and down, changing hats. And so I think that when we all get together, we're not screwed up. But we all have a similar personality. So it's like, let's go have some fun.
Yeah. You got to be able to meet a lot of different people's energy in a lot of different settings. Yeah, there's a lot to it. It takes a lot of practice, but it starts with treating others with respect. And that's one of our core values too. And I think that's where a lot of success starts, is you just have to treat people with respect.
Yep.
Period. At the very beginning of everything.
It took me until I was older to understand some of these things, but my parents had a group of friends that they were friends their whole lives, and since they were younger, and then they had kids, and we were friends, but we always looked up to these people, and we never, you don't really dissect it when you're younger. But as I look back on it, it was because none of those people ever treated us like kids. They had a certain amount of respect for us, and of course we were looking up to them, thinking they were great. Mm-hmm. If you have that mutual respect, in no matter what you do out on the job or with your customers, or I think that the relationship just continues to grow, and that's a good point. Mm-hmm. So, Roby, you are the chair of Build Pack for OHBA, right?
Yes, sir.
What makes you want to do that? Because that's asking for money for a lot of people, right?
No, it's fundraising. And actually, I was just on the phone with Vince before I came in here, that we need to do another fundraising, for the spring rather than just in the fall for the meetings. But it's very tough. But a lot of people that do donate to the OHBA Build Pack Political Action Committee, they understand that it's a grassroots approach.
Yep.
There's other industries that pay a lot more for 5 minutes with a politician.
Yeah.
So what we do is totally grassroots, and I believe in it because we do have one voice, and so I think that together, whether it's giving money or donating money for a golf outing so you can be in it and talk to that politician then on the back nine or whatever. It's kind of nice. We need that collective voice.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so tough because especially when we're in Washington, D.C., and we go into Raymond and we're on the Hill and we're talking to our congressman. I think one time, Laura Comic and me and a handful of us, I had my niece with me at the time. And we stop and eat lunch in between the buildings in the basement. And so we're sitting there and we sit with this group of airline pilots. And we're like, what do you guys do? What do you guys do? And we're all talking around. We're builders. They're airline pilots. They're doing their same thing we're doing. They're going and talking to our congressman. They were pissed off because of flight times and how much time you had to be able to fly the plane in between, like what you like a truck driver, you have a logbook, but then also your training times. And they're going on and on and on, and they're just drilling the congressman. I'm like, well, we just wore this dude out because we need this, and this. And when we were walking out, there was a group of ladies that looked like the Cincinnati Reds, like, red leg ladies standing there, and they were going to push something else on them. So there's always a political action committee, or there's always a special interest group that's driving these congressmen crazy, and that's probably why they have so many aides in their group. But
I mean, the world doesn't revolve around home builder.
That's where I learned it. That was why I was down there. I was like, I thought we were the only ones here.
Exactly.
I didn't realize all this other stuff.
Or the backbone.
I know what drove me years ago about politics. I was interested in it, but what makes you want to do that? So what makes somebody into politics? Are you into it at all, Crosby? Do you care?
I follow politics. Yeah. I think it's fascinating. I enjoy history and things like that. Do I ever want to be a politician? No.
Right.
But, I think it's interesting to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes you want to do it?
No, I mean, I think it's cool because you're literally changing something. So it's very unique to be able to express a difficulty in your industry or your business. And then, somebody listens and it affects change. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because, some people might put a code or something in there for a certain reason, but we say, well, no, and actually it's not a non-issue for us.
Yeah.
And so we just have to communicate that to whoever the powers that be. And so we're really affecting change.
We fight amongst ourselves so much for new code issues and things. And in the building code, the majority of the codes that have been changed in the building code were by manufacturers pushing a product. And it just drives me crazy to no end. Mm-hmm. And these guys want. And we're like, okay, you can want that all day long, but you can't make it standard because you have affordable housing that you have to be concerned about. And that's ultimately where we start at when we think about affordable housing. But everything needs to be affordable. It doesn't have to be standard to make it an option. You don't want to do the same things on a $150,000 house as I'm doing on a $3 million house. And yes. People don't understand that a lot of times. And so you're fighting against things like that. I think it's interesting to also see, I had a lady named Kathy Wynett on the show the last time around. She's a Democrat from Butler County who has ran for state rep and also ran for I think she might. Oh man, she's gonna kill me. I think it was a local trustee. We built her house, her and her husband's house. I've been best friends with her husband for a long time. I've supported her both times, and we talk about the similarities and what we all agree with, and how the name, the title on a ticket creates such a separation between all of us. And you don't even know that person, but since they're a Democrat, you hate them. Or since they're a Republican, you hate them. Mm-hmm. Since they like Tennessee and football, then we hate them, and they don't like Ohio State football, we're going to kill them, which is kind of true. But I mean, you know, all these different separations, and we talk about how much of the world really does agree most of the time, and there's a handful of subjects that people disagree on, and I think that's the cool thing about politics. The other thing we talk about is we've had some really cool people that we've dealt with. John Husted is one of them, and we just talked to him the other day. But Mike Turner was a really cool guy. I mean, just awesome, slick dude, always willing to come out and do anything. Your dad and him were really close, but also Brad Winstrip, who is just a great dude. He's a doctor. And we were down there the last time in DC was when that shooting was out there at that ball field. And we were supposed to meet with Trump and Pence that day. And Pence was going to give the opening remarks to our meeting, and they had to go because there was people running around trying to kill politicians down there that day. And Brad saved like 3 or 4 of them, and because he's a doctor. I mean, it was amazing. So, but I mean, but everybody thinks Congress is crooked until you meet guys like that, and you're like, well, this guy's not crooked. Yeah, this is a good guy. I mean, you know, this doesn't make sense. Why is everybody upside down? So, I think politics are really interesting, and you can get a lot of work done with these guys, understanding that they're there to serve, and if they're really their heart's into it, they're going to do some really good things. So, we just as this airs. We have got a new president, right? I mean, we just got a president a couple weeks ago, I guess a week and a half ago. So that's pretty interesting. We're talking all the time about all these people who
You're talking about Trump?
Yes.
Okay.
Who do you think?
I don't know.
Who the hell would you think I'm talking to, Roby?
He's not inaugurated yet.
President of Israel? I mean, I don't know.
Well, no, he's still there.
You think about the Home Builders Association? Well, we got a new president of the Home Builders Association too. We all did.
It's a big year. Yeah.
It was.
But we got President Trump is back. And how many, I think it's just a trip. How many people think that they have a relief off their shoulders and their world is going to be so much better now that Mr. Trump's back in office? Now, I think that consumer confidence is huge, and that's what we want. But I'm not really sure how much the president of the United States directly affects me as I'm sitting here today. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different things that go on, but I just get a kick out of people. And that's another part where people will kill each other over the president. Yeah. And a guy that they've never met, has no idea who they are, and they're arguing with their neighbor about, you know, what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see his first day in office. He's supposed to, like, they're not giving the number out yet, but like he's going to sign like 200 or 300 executive orders the first day, like, or maybe more.
To get rid of regulations.
Yeah, to get rid of regulations.
From the standpoint of our industry, that's the big thing with, you know, a Trump presidency. He's going to cut regulation.
I hope so.
He's a developer.
I hope so.
Yeah. He knows us.
We were driving through Swift and Commons down here in Cincinnati. My son and I we were heading to a Xavier basketball game a couple weeks ago. And I said, this is where President Trump got his start at. And he thought I was kidding. And I'm like, no, this is it, man. This is one of his first developments that he did. It was right here in Cincinnati. Just a really, I think he's a really cool dude.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Yeah. It's
what was it?
It's Rhode Island Drive, kind of down around that area. As you go down south 75, it's in between 71 and 75. And I'm trying to think of a road that would take you over to that area. It's down there. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's kind of like just north of the zoo, you know, kind of around up and around that area. Where the Cincinnati Gardens used to be. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a businessman running the country. I think is good.
Yeah, I think it's back good. In 2015 or whatever he announced, it kind of was like, you know, not that I'm some expert, but it was like, oh well, he's a businessman. Yeah, you know, let's run this country like a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how successful he is this year.
Ross Perot is just so excited, laying in his grave. He's like, finally, we did it.
We did it.
Let's talk about CBUSA. So CBUSA is a buying group that your dad and you, like you said, George and you guys were all riding in a cab or riding in a car somewhere. And this is a buying group that they call it Custom Builder USA, but it's not Custom Builder. It's a lot of just buying. So we buy a lot of our materials together. You guys, us, a handful of other Dayton builders, a handful of other Cincinnati builders. And this is, I think it's a really good group because, again, this is another, you tell me, Crosby, if you agree or not, but this is another time where we get an opportunity to sit down and talk to each other.
100%. It's like a real miniaturized version of a Builder 20 group. Anytime I can get in a room with some other builders, whether we're talking about, building regulations or, buying, different materials together. I mean, I'm all for it, because the conversation goes to people's different pinch points, and you learn things from other people just with those open conversations.
Yep.
So, being a part of CBUSA is okay. Yeah. We're all using our purchasing power to, kind of come together, but at the same time, we're also able to bounce some ideas off of each other. And
it's like a mini HBA.
Yeah.
And I'm Crosby spearheading this for our company. I have nothing to do with CBUSA. I've gone to a few meetings, of course.
But I call Roby back, or I call him once, I get out of these meetings, and I usually have one or two things that I want to bounce off you that I hear that, Christo or Wieland or, Alan Schmidt or someone is doing. And they're good ideas, and, you just wouldn't hear about them any other way.
Right.
So it's invaluable for us, and we're happy to be a part of it. So
I think that's one of the toughest things for general public or people who aren't in our industry to understand. They don't understand how we all get together and we're friends, even if we're competing against each other. Like we all collaborate, we talk about things, we do things, and I think you just got to accept the fact that there's business in this world. There's things you're going to do, but we all, like I said, we all trying to get together and hang out and do things. That buying group's been. I think we've been doing this for like 10 years now almost, I think. It's been longer than what I thought it was. It hasn't always been beneficial to me, but Alan and I talk about it a lot. Getting an opportunity to sit down with all of us, once a month or whatever it is, and just have conversations, and we get better deals, and which we pass all on to our customers, and we can use that as a selling point. So right now we're buying drywall together. We buy shingles together. I think there's James Hardy siding we buy together. What else do you guys get out of that group? Schlag.
Yeah, Schlag is a big one. I believe Moen just rolled out a program too, possibly, or maybe not.
I hope so.
Maybe I'm thinking of it just a plumbing supplier. Yeah, maybe it's Kohler or something. But yeah, there's so many great programs. Siding you mentioned. I mean, drywall has been great for us.
And then too, one of the ideas Crosby came back was the Enter Now, which is a self-guided tour that somebody can go. I mean, you probably have those for your homes for years, but we started doing it. I think we've sold 2 homes off of it.
Really?
To where, somebody wants to go into a home, they don't want to be sold by a salesperson.
It's for like finished specs. You might not be using them.
I haven't used it. We use a Matterport where you could go through an existing house on a video.
No, this is, you physically get a code. You upload your driver's license and you verify your email and your phone number.
We use smart front deadbolts that, hook up to the Wi-Fi.
Okay. So they're going out to the house on their own.
Yeah. Yep. So they get to the house. There's a sign out front that says, do you want to tour this home right now? Like all you need is your cell phone and an app. So they scan the QR code on the front door. They get the code. The door opens automatically because it's hooked up to the, app through Wi-Fi. And then when they close the door to leave, it locks behind them. And we just have a note on there that says, turn off the lights when you're done. And that's it. Kidding. And then, they enter in their, all their information, their contact and things like that. So we can do the follow-up. But yeah, no, that's been great for us.
And it's not like a CBUSA product or, the buying.
No.
It came out of.
But you heard it in the meeting.
Exactly.
And took it back. I didn't even know anything about that. That is really cool.
Yeah.
We don't have any model homes or anything like that, but since you do, I'm going to be having a party in Dayton next week at one of your model homes. I'm going to put my driver's license in there, and I'm going to come in there with a couple coolers of beer.
There you go.
I'll see if I can.
I'll see if I can't get that thing sold for you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So I think what to make sure that everybody understands is it's not like we're doing this and we're getting kickbacks and that's the only reason we do it. We operate like a 500. CBUSA is like a builder business is what they consider themselves, and we operate like a $500 million a year company just with our little group here in Cincinnati. So we go to vendors and say, hey, here's what the deal is. We're going to be buying all this material from you, and then and we try and do it locally, but then they have national contracts that we get to buy things. National Schlag and James Hardy and Kohler, and there's some water heaters. There's all kinds of stuff in there that you can pick and choose if you're going to want to use it.
Right.
So I think it's really cool. I think that I have these conversations with Jay. Jay's always like, what can we do to help you? What can we do to help you? I'm like, well, for starters, you could listen to us for one. And because why don't you just let us all sit down and write a list of the things that we use and let's go start buying it together. Light switches and hoses and whatever you want. Rebar. We can do all of this stuff.
100%.
Well, but they don't like it if CBUSA can't get their hands on it. So I mean, but we'd still be going through CBUSA. So I really think that's one of the things we want to change on it. But I think it's really a really good group.
Well, I'm nominating you for the executive committee or whatever they call it, the leadership team. Yeah. I think you should 100% be on it. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on, but
you can do it, Jeff.
I can do it.
I think you should definitely be.
You have that vision, and then I think that you have an idea in your head, and you won't stop until you complete. Mission accomplished. That's what I see, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I'm going to have to decline your nomination. I think my wife wants to kill me if I nominate if I volunteer for one more thing. Yeah, I was at because we're farmers too, and I was at my Warren County Cattlemen's meeting the other night, and they're like, "We need a president of the group," and I'm like, "Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't say anything." I do that at my son's sports games. I was at a baseball practice one night, and this old boy's out there by himself, and I'm like, "Just stay in a truck. Shut up. Don't say anything. Just stay in a truck." I get out of the truck. I'm like, "You need some help?" He's like, "Oh, thank God." And all of a sudden, I'm a baseball coach.
Next thing you know, yeah. That's funny.
What's your favorite thing on your farm?
I tell you what, I look around that place all the time. And when I wake up in the morning and you can look, we don't have any blinds because we're in the middle of nowhere by ourselves. And you can see out through the pastures. You can look around the house. I just love our house. And just no different than when I get to look at my kids. And I swear this sounds so corny, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to live this life. I can't believe I get to come here all the time, live here, look at these things. We're always doing something on the farm, raising those kids on the farm. And I just love looking around and being grateful for everything we have. It's just like it brings you home. I talked to a guy years and years ago. Me and Tim Hensley were somewhere, and the guy said he lived out in the country, and he said, when I turn on my road, I don't know what the guy did for a living is, but I feel like there's just this weight lifted off my shoulders. I take this deep breath, and I feel like I'm home, and I always feel like that when I get there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of being there. So I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. I really want you guys to let's start making some shit up. Let's talk about it. What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, I have a question now. Did you build your house?
Yeah,
your own house?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I take down notes every once in a while because one day I want to build my own house as well. Yeah. And every once in a while I'll get good ideas and I'll put them in a notepad and just for future use. What's the one or two things you think that you put into your house that you built for yourself that were awesome, or the best things you did, or
man,
laundry chute?
We didn't put a laundry chute in there. My wife probably wishes we did. We built our house. We built it. We designed it and built it for some other people, but we made a bunch of changes to it. But we built it for some people out in like Morrow or something. So we took that plan, but it works for us. I mean, it's got 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms for my kids and a loft area upstairs. It's got everything we want on the first floor. It looks like a farmhouse, Cool. There's things that I'm like, this is dumb, but our front porch is like 40 feet long and 8 feet deep. And we never go out there. I'm like, this is the most beautiful, useless thing I've ever seen in my life.
Someday you might use it.
What's that?
Someday you might use
Someday,
it.
yeah.
Party at your place this spring when it warms up.
Drunk enough and I can't figure out where the door is, I'll probably end up out there. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't do that anymore. That's it. But I mean, there's just so many little things. I mean, you do what you. I tell our customers all the time. There's a value to the dollar, and then there's a value to you. Mm-hmm. And what kind of value are you going to get out of it? So I mean, like we did like navy blue cabinets in the kitchen, and we did this old live edge walnut countertop in our on our island, and it's like 3 inches thick, and it looks really cool. It looks old, now it looks dated, but I'm like, I love this. I think this is really, really cool, but it's not anything like innovating, No. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times we build houses for other builders who don't build houses like we do, or they're building a commercial. We built for commercial builders. We built for a big production builder. We built like the president of a big production builder's house, because they just want that different feel for it. So I think if you're going to build your own house, go out and talk to a bunch of different people. Don't be afraid to ask questions and look at pictures. And I mean, your Uncle Mike is one of the best. I mean,
I'll definitely be consulting him when I get there.
Yeah. For sure. Him, I think Dan Duvall is just like a super dude. He's a really good builder. You can go talk to him, and there's all kinds of people to talk to. I think that's one of the cool things about our business growth, like you guys have done and we've done, is you gain these heroes in this business. Like you look up to them, and you can see these guys and what they've done since you were a little kid, and you're like, I remember them, man. That's really cool what they've done.
And too, like Dan Duvall, I know that he started as a trim carpenter, and now he's building homes. The homes that he builds at that caliber, it's not a rags to riches, but it's a very cool. Like he loves his
self-made.
craft.
He
loves his craft.
Yeah.
We all do, of course.
And he does a great job. And,
Yes.
I'm not sure if he's bought a new pickup truck or not, but I mean, he's like so humble, you know, I mean,
Yes.
he drives that old.
Yes.
And Dan's awesome, and we all know that. But another story about him is we were having our tabletop night, you know, and there was a committee for it. And Dan, who's obviously been through the HBA and he's been there, done all that, you know, volunteered to be on the committee to put on our tabletop last year, and like showed up to all the meetings, like was helping out, making phone calls, like.
He doesn't have to do that.
He doesn't have to do that stuff. Like
he believes
he's put in
in it.
his time, and it's like, you know, guys like that. Yeah, you look up to him, and it's
Yeah.
just they're awesome.
That's
so
good. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. What else you guys have to add? Anything? What would you like to say?
I don't know. What's our time at?
You've
I always
said
hear
it
that
all.
in podcast. What's our time at? Like maybe like an hour 12. Probably.
You know, Leanne, my marketing person, she hates the fact that these go on so long. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here all day long and talk, because I think you can listen to it and then you can come back and listen to it. And you don't have to worry about just sitting down and listen to it 20 minutes. I want to hear what people have to say and learn about what you guys do.
I mean, it's not about business, but you know, we have the snow on the ground. If we're going to listen to this podcast in 3 years, we have 12 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
It's been on here for a week and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's driving me crazy.
I mean, with the sun's out, it feels like we're in a nice little Aspen, you know, city. But you know, other than that, we are still in Southwest Ohio.
Chance of rain coming up, and you know, but I always tell people, I'm like, it never lasts that long here. I mean, you know, we always have a break, and now I'm sitting here looking out there and I'm going, man, this is really tough. This is like, we can't do
what
anything.
the grass looks like now.
Yeah, we can't do anything. But the days are so. One of my most exciting days is winter solstice, because then the days get longer from that day on. Even if it's cold, if it's still getting dark at like 7:30, I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
have we hit that yet? Have we hit
It's
the
like-
turning
yeah,
point?
it's
I don't
the
even know.
21st of December.
We did. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, so
Yeah.
we're on the other side.
It's like light around 6 o'clock ish now.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
Do you so Crosby? You're starting a new family. I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
because you need some advice.
Appreciate it.
Because I'm
I'll
sure
take
you're
all the
not getting any
I get.
advice from anybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How old's do you have a son or a daughter?
I have a 1-year-old daughter. She's turning 1 on Saturday.
Oh,
Actually.
nice.
Yeah.
Man, those are good times. Those are good times. You can listen to people's advice all day long. One of the things that happens to you is you feel like you're the first person to ever have a kid in this world. And none of this shit's ever happened to anybody else.
Right.
And you're freaking out all the time, and you realize people have been doing this for hundreds of years.
Oh yeah, yeah. I try to remind my wife of that all the time. You know, but still, it's the amount of responsibility, you know, that all of a sudden you're hit with. You know, like when we left the hospital, you know, we were in there for like, you know, 2 days. But when you leave the hospital, you know, you're all in the car. The kid's in the car seat. You know, she's in the back seat. I'm driving, and it's like we both just kind of looked and they're like, did they just let us leave with a baby? Like, what is going on? But you know, you just take it day by day, and eventually, you know, you get into the routine, and it's just normal.
Yeah.
And you know, we've actually got another one on the way. We're gonna have
Do you really?
a second in June, so we're gonna have
Nice.
2 under 2, and that's gonna be a little boy, and we're just gonna keep on rolling. So parenthood's great. You know, my wife's mother helps out a lot. They're just down the street, which is huge. So yeah, it's great. It's a beautiful thing, you know, and
That's good.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
There's so many game changers that come along the way, you know, I mean, because this and that and this and that. And I always tell people the biggest game changer for me was because your kids are always in the back seat. And when they start creeping up and sitting in the front seat and you're driving, now you all of a sudden, instead of looking in the rear mirror and you're talking to a little kid, now you're sitting to your buddy sitting next to you and you're having different conversations. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, I want to say thank you for taking your time out of your day to come down here. You guys are awesome. I'm so grateful for our friendship and our relationship that we've had for all these years with you and your family, all the work you guys do with the Home Builders Association and just being good builders in general, being good people. So
Likewise.
I mean it. I'm sincere. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys on the other side, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Thanks for being here. This is Crosby and Roby Sims here on the WB Download. All right, man. I'll tell you what. I enjoyed that so much, like I always do. I don't think I ever get on here and be like, that interview sucked, and I just grit my teeth through the whole thing. But I'll tell you that just to have the friends of mine to be on this show like that, just to get to meet those guys and hang out with them, and for you guys to hear their voice and what they do and how they came up. is just so awesome because I feel like it's awesome. I'm grateful for them to be here. Crosby and Roby Sims Development, Dayton, Ohio. Check them out. They've got a long history of family in this business, and two smart dudes right there that are just doing really cool things up there. So thank you guys again. Thanks for being here. Man, I'm just so grateful, and I'm in awe that I get to be surrounded, my life. I get to be surrounded by people like them in my life. They help me. So, hey, thank you everybody for listening to the show. Thanks for being here. I once again, don't forget to check us out, to download our on your favorite podcast service, but make sure you check us out on YouTube and follow us on there, download us on there. And, don't forget also that we drop on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So it's already the fourth Tuesday of the month. And did I mention the last time that, something that happened, in between now and the last episode was that we have a new president in office. And so President Trump took office, and I am so excited about this because JD Vance is in office, and we have a hillbilly in the White House. And that's what we want. JD Vance lives and grew up about 5 minutes from where our farm is, and I think that his story is really cool. Check out Hillbilly Elegy, but just watch this dude because he's probably going to be around for probably the next I would say 12 years. So let's keep an eye on him and let's support him. Good Southwest Ohio guy there. So enough about that anyway. But I wanted to plug that because I think that was a big time in our history. If you want to be part of the conversation, you want to be a guest on the show, send me some questions, topics, or whatever you got to wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com, wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. And if you want to check out more behind the scenes of Wieland Builders and all the cool houses that we get to build and things that are happening with us, go to wielandbuilders.com, wielandbuilders.com. Sign up for our newsletter. See the things that are happening. Make sure that you follow the WB Download. Check us out as much as you can because we always have really cool things going on. Thank you, everybody, again for listening. Thank you again to Crosby and Roby Sims for being here today. And as always, make sure you tune in on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. I'm Jeff Whelan for the WB Download.